I recently did a response to a video by State of Daniel, purveyor of spurious apologetic arguments and dodgy views on natural selection on YouTube. At the end of his video, he recommended a Facebook page relating to the Freedom from Atheism Foundation, which he thought was a good and informative site for apologetics, and I thought it might be worth a look. What I found on their front webpage, linked below, was nothing short of astoundingly disingenuous. So, here it is.
Welcome to the official website of the Freedom from Atheism Foundation, FFAF. Our organization exists in order to raise awareness of militant atheism and atheist atrocities around the world. In addition, we seek to stand for religious freedom on a global scale. The Freedom from Atheism Foundation holds firm in its faith in God and defends the rights of those whose religious liberty is infringed upon. Through our social media, victims of militant atheism are free to share their experiences without fear of harassment. Members of all faiths are welcome. Militant atheism is a term applied to atheism which is hostile towards religion.
So, anyone who holds the view that religion is harmful, however reasonably they may hold it, is militant. Let's look at the definition of militant. It's an adjective describing the favouring of confrontational or violent methods in support of a political or social cause. Here we have two sides to a definition. Confrontational methods, certainly some atheists are confrontational to an extent, but violent, no. But it suits the agenda of this article to conflate those ideas, as we will see. For now, let's just note that I have never seen atheists bum-rushing church services, shouting at people in the street, telling people they deserve to be tortured for eternity, or adopting active prejudices and discrimination as a result of their non-belief. Note how they juxtapose militant with moderate in order to invite the inference that a militant atheist, by their definition, is not moderate in his views. That might be fair if they're talking about people who are actively aggressive and violent in service of their non-belief, but as we've already noted, they've defined militant atheists simply as people who think religion is harmful.
Militant atheists have a desire to propagate the doctrine, and differ from moderate atheists because they hold religion to be harmful. Militant atheism was an integral part of the atheistic communist ideology of Marxism-Leninism, and was significant in the Reign of Terror in the French Revolution. Atheist states, both historically and currently, uphold the doctrine. These include the Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR People's Republic of China, PRC, Cuba, and North Korea.
Really? That old chestnut? Quiz question. What do the USSR, China and North Korea have in common? That's it. They are communist regimes run by extreme political ideologies. They have also been, to a greater or lesser extent, dictatorships of one kind or another. It was those ideologies and regimes that gave rise to the less palatable aspects of those societies, not atheism. Kim Jong-il does not behave as he does out of a non-belief in a deity, albeit frankly North Korea is a religious state in any event, in a significant sense, as the leader and his family are effectively deified. More to the point, though, to conflate North Korean regimes with people who reach a reasoned view that religion isn't necessarily a good thing is as offensive as it is spurious.
Militant atheism also manifests itself in the New Atheism movement, which stands by the ideological position that religion should not simply be tolerated but should be countered, criticized and exposed.
Yeah, okay, I'd go with that. I certainly believe that religion should be countered and criticised and exposed. What is missing in the description is a key element, namely that religion which doesn't seek to indoctrinate the young and vulnerable, and which doesn't seek to impose itself on the rest of society, is something that most of us would be pretty content to ignore.
In the 20th century alone, over 25 million believers of many faiths were martyred under the militant atheism espoused by atheist regimes around the world. However, the promotion of this atheistic ideology, along with its accompanying persecution of faith communities, continues today.
What the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck? This isn't just misleading, it's actively dishonest. The deliberate and cynical juxtaposition of the new atheist movement and its ideology of criticism and expose, with random allegations about 25 million martyrs, is just staggering. No facts offered, of course. Reality is, whatever their basis for these figures, those martyrs presumably died at the hands of dictators and oppressive regimes, not as a result of any imagined atheist ideology. I personally hate the phrase new atheist anyway. It's a meaningless and rather silly label, but we know who and what it refers to broadly, so I guess it's a usable label. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've yet to see Professor Dawkins and Sam Harris storm a cathedral to mow down the gathered faithful with Kalashnikovs. In fact, I'm guessing that the authors of this hateful site would struggle to find one clear example of a person killed by someone as a result of that other person's lack of belief in God.
Militant atheism, according to Harold J. Berman, a Harvard specialist in Soviet law, was the state credo of the Soviet Union. The militant state atheism of the Bolshevik Revolution owed its origins to the Marxist-Leninist dictum that religion was the opium of the masses. To this end, the goal of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics was the liquidation of religion, and the means to achieve this goal included the destruction of churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, religious monuments, as well as the mass deportation of believers to Siberian forced labor camps, which is commonly referred to as the Gulag. Many of these houses of worship were converted into bathhouses, granaries, and museums of atheism, the latter of which were constructed in order to proselytize the masses into accepting atheism. In addition, atheistic and anti-religious carnivals were frequently held in order to promote the mockery of the religious and the beliefs that they held sacred. Religion was banned from the school and university system, and pupils were asked to convert family members to atheism, as well as memorize anti-religious rhymes, songs, and catechisms. Scientific theories, such as the Big Bang, which implied a creator god, were suppressed in favor of theories which were thought to support atheistic materialism.
So, are we talking about totalitarian regimes, or Chris Hitchens doing lecture tours? I've not researched the Bolsheviks or gulags in close detail, but for one, it's not relevant to what the Freedom from Atheism Foundation is seemingly trying to argue here, and for two, this is clearly about totalitarian regimes and political ideologies in any event.
Under the reign of terror in the French Revolution, the atheistic cult of reason, Culte de la Raison, was established.
Yes, and under the Catholic Church, the Spanish Inquisition was established. This is ancient history. Look, we know that nasty regimes do nasty things. Atheism and nasty regimes are not the same thing. An oppressive regime benefits from either controlling religion or suppressing it, and nobody suggests otherwise.
North Korea is officially an atheist state in which much of the population is non-religious due to years of persecution by the atheistic government. It is ranked number 1 on the Open Doors World Watch list of countries where the persecution of beliefs is most severe.
Agreed. I'm not aware of too many people who support the North Korean regime as a reasonable or fair one in any respect. And here we have, finally, the dishonest denouement of the article. A ridiculous conflation of communist dictatorships with new atheism. It's like the mirror image of the old internet adage about arguments ending with reference to Hitler. So here goes.
New atheism is a modern militant atheist movement which promotes the ideological position that religion should not simply be tolerated but should be countered, criticized, and exposed. Its founders include Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, and Daniel Dennett.
No, they didn't found or start a movement. They had ideas to share which overlapped and which many intelligent people listened to and took on board, or found that they shared as well.
This movement has gained the following among vulnerable individuals and is present in the mission of several organizations today, such as the British Humanist Association and American Atheists.
Vulnerable individuals? An extraordinary claim. But let's talk about vulnerable individuals for a moment. People who are depressed or down on their luck. People in underdeveloped countries without access to proper facilities, let alone education and information. Children in schools with young minds open to all manner of ideas and concepts, fed to them by adults they expect to teach them true things about the world they're trying to learn to live in. Now, how many atheist organisations do we know that make a point of targeting those individuals and those groups? How many do we know run schools, send missionaries to developing nations, or even run AA groups and so on? I can't speak for others, but as an educated professional man with security, wife and kids in a major Western democracy, I can honestly say that I'm lucky to be probably amongst the very least vulnerable people on this planet. It is rank hypocrisy for religion to accuse atheists of targeting the vulnerable.
These organizations' activities include campaigning against the Holocaust Memorial and the World Trade Center Memorial Cross, as well as attempting to disestablish historic state churches.
These are lengthy subjects of themselves and are far more complex than this devious piece of writing is inviting people to believe. For instance, the Memorial Cross in particular has been discussed at length in many places. In short, lots of people died that day at the World Trade Center. Some were Christian, many were not. The idea of an overtly Christian symbol, which some religious folks ridiculously claimed as a sign from God because it happened to appear in the rubble made of twisted metal, as if girders don't tend to cross one another. But in any event, in such a multicultural disaster, the idea of an overtly Christian symbol was something about which people understandably had some concerns. Christians don't own a disaster zone, and attempts to do so risk alienating and excluding the many, many others. That's probably not a good idea, and in my view it was entirely reasonable to have that debate.
In 2012, at one of the largest new atheist gatherings, dubbed the Reason Rally, militant atheists carried signs stating "So many Christians, so few lions," in reference to the Diocletian persecution, in which several Christians were tortured and killed.
God forbid anyone should make a joke.
In addition, new atheist leader Dawkins has attempted to justify the atrocities committed in the name of atheism.
This is simply an outright lie, and a libelous one at that.
And has urged his militant atheist followers to mock and ridicule believers.
Yeah, he believes that should happen, although the concentration is on the beliefs rather than people. Ridicule is a useful tool. It is not, however, something which any decent, honest person should be seeking to conflate with communist regimes or the Holocaust. It seems that the purpose of the front page article on this site is to set these evil new atheists who militantly offer carefully reasoned views about the validity and the effect of religion on the world, and aggressively engage in talks at colleges or viciously write books about religion, alongside murderous regimes and violent lunatics. The trick of the article is to mix and match comments on the two as if they were one and the same. That's not an honest approach to writing an article, and whoever wrote it knew exactly what they were fucking well doing. That makes the person who wrote it of extremely questionable integrity, so far as I'm concerned. Are there any lengths, I have to ask, to which theists will not go to try to discredit people who have difficult questions for them and don't buy into their dogma? So much for not bearing false witness. The premise of this article is absolutely ludicrous, and it is worrying and frightening that people actually buy into this sort of absolute fucking nonsense. The two things are entirely different. The militant atheists, which they describe in connection with new atheism, are entirely different to murderous regimes. It is simply not sensible, not appropriate, and dishonest to suggest otherwise. Anyway, if you appreciated this video, please do click the subscribe button. I'm going to try and do more videos as time goes by, and the more people take an interest, the more inclined I'm going to be to do that. Perhaps I'll fish further into this website at some stage. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you again sometime.